welcome back to BetMGM Tonight. And straight away from me, my man, you, like any wide receiver league, had your fair share of quiet games. What was your mindset heading into the next game? And the reason I bring that up, out of the following wide receiver studs, who do you believe storms back with a vengeance in week 2? A.J. Brown of Philadelphia, Jamar Chase of the Bengals, Brian Thomas, who's going to be going against Jamar Chase in that same game in Cincinnati, or Nico Collins on Monday night in his matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So give me your thoughts on any of those dudes and just kind of your psychology coming off a quiet game.
First, the psychology coming off a quiet game, obviously you always want to make up for it. A guy like, because I'm going to go with Jamar Chase this week. A guy like him, he's the connection that him and Joe Burrow have, slow start to the season week 1, but, I think they'll pick it up very, very quickly. He's a guy who can score at any point in time on the field, and I think he'll be poised for that. Especially, I know it's probably a lot of fantasy football owners, a lot of betting owners who've been in his comments, DMs, mentions throughout the whole course of the week saying that they picked him on yards, they picked him on parlays and so on and so forth. So I know he'll have a little bit of extra juice going into this week, just for himself, but also for the bettors out there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Alan, I'm an Aaron Rodgers guy. I know he's not for everybody, but I get a kick out of the guy, and I think he's just he's one of the ultimate badasses in league history. He throws for 4 touchdowns on Sunday against his former team, the New York Jets, who are supposed to have one of the top secondaries in the league. You got Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season, even though a lot of Pittsburgh fans, for whatever reason, want him out. They're plus 425 right now to win the division. Obviously, it's a tough division. You have Joe Burrow in the Bengals. You have Lamar Jackson in the Ravens. But are you a believer in Pittsburgh this year, at least as a wild card team? Or do you think maybe that's just an overreaction after one really good week where Rodgers looked pretty good at 41 years old?
Definitely in on Pittsburgh, man. Seeing the juice that Aaron Rodgers had in that game on Sunday, man. We hadn't saw Aaron Rodgers and that excitement and confidence and everything from Aaron Rodgers in quite some time. And to be honest, I think the game is a better game when A-Rod is playing well, just across the league, man. Seeing him and his fist pumps, his celebrations, man, he was pretty juiced. And I don't think that was just a week 1 versus the Jets thing. I believe that culture that's around him as a player, and from players to personnel and Tomlin, I think they've really rejuvenated him. And also, this is his second year off of his injury, and he's probably pretty healthy now, had a whole offseason to train and get his body back right. So, I think it's going to continue to ascend. I think that's just the start. Again, it may be some ebb and flows to the season, but I think Aaron Rodgers spoke to just the confidence that he has in his players and also the clutch plays that those players make down the stretch across the board.
The team I really liked in the NFC this year to bounce back was San Francisco. They play the easiest schedule in the league. They get, CMC back healthy. And funny enough, everybody was worried about his health. He's the one guy that's actually healthy right now. It looks like they're going to be without Brock Purdy for multiple weeks. So I wanted to ask you this, man, is, a receiver in the league. What's the biggest challenge on game week when you're trying to prep and QB1's out and you're going to be catching balls from a guy that you might not have a whole lot of reps with at camp, because you're not working with the second team offense? And do you think San Francisco could survive the next few weeks with this rash of injuries? It's not just Purdy, it's Kittle. Jennings is a little bit dinged up right now. What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely tough, and I feel like it's more tough with some of the main calls that you may have, like 2-minute stuff and stuff like that, because you don't get really a lot of time throughout the course of the week to run that stuff. Some of your more scripted plays, you'll have a chance to go through walkthrough. You'll have a chance to run through those plays. You have a chance to run those against air and so on and so forth. But when you started to get into other things that you may not have gotten the reps, it can be tough, So, I would look for San Francisco to maybe, start off hot early in the game. But as some of those opener plays start to cool down a little bit, they may start to slow up and stall, But at the same time, Mac Jones is a high draft pick. He isn't a slouch. He's been a starter before. So, they don't just have a guy who's coming in that they don't have any confidence in. And if anybody can have somebody come in and pick it up, I think it's Kyle Shanahan. He's somewhat of a quarterback whisperer. So we've saw guys, come in and play well under him multiple times. It wasn't too long ago that Brock Purdy was just a guy and came in, and now he's the guy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And dad bods for the win. Mac Jones, not exactly chiseled.
Especially for quarterbacks.
He's going to go out.
Yeah. You guys can't do like that, Alan.
I don't care what his physique looks like. Just throw some frozen ropes to my guy, and particularly in Christian McCaffrey with a dump-off game. We're talking Allen Robinson right now, 11-year NFL veteran at the wide receiver position. Give him a follow on X, an awesome follow there, at Allen Robinson. Again, on X, at Allen Robinson. Allen, Philly KC is arguably the game of week 2 in the NFL without Rashee Rice and likely without an effective Xavier Worthy for KC. Who do you see stepping up most in this Chiefs offense? And most importantly, who takes the game at Arrowhead? Currently, the Eagles are favored by the slimmest of margins, 1 point on the road.
I think it's going to be tough for the Chiefs. Again, I mean, they're having guys fill in. They have their main guy in Rashee Rice out, having Xavier Worthy, now their deep threat out as well. Obviously, we've heard of some guys, step up throughout training camp and make some plays, who may be a little bit lower on the depth chart, and they have Hollywood Brown to still make some plays as well. But, I think it will be tough. It's always tough as well going against a Vic Fangio defense. As we saw last week with the weapons that Dallas had, it was hard to stretch the field and kind of create those explosive plays. So it's not going to be easy. So I got to go with Philly, man. I think that Philly just has the consistent run game. Obviously, their pass game kind of is up and down. But again, I mean, I think Jalen Hurts is the true essence of a dual threat quarterback, meaning that he affects the run and the pass. So I think when it comes to that, when you balance it out, you have a guy who kind of leads the charge for both of those.
You and I are very much on the same wavelength, my man. I love Philadelphia in that game. Dare I say, Kansas City could start the season 0-2. I think it's very much there on the table. Alan, we'll get you out of here on this. You're very familiar with how passionate Bears fans are during your days in Chicago. On Monday, the city went from elated to exasperated in how it viewed one Caleb Williams. Where do you stand on the former number 1 pick? Is it panic time or exercise patience?
I don't think it's panic time just yet. I know Chicago is, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. I know the Chicago community is a "what have you done for me lately" kind of city. But keep calm. It's a work in progress. He's still learning. Rome wasn't built in a day. So I think at the end of the day, with what Ben Johnson is bringing to the table and how he likes to cultivate and call the offense, as we saw with Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, it may take a little bit of time. I know Chicago Bears fans may hate to hear that, and I know the patience may not just be there, but take some time for now. Take a deep breath and allow the season to play out a little bit more. And as we progress, we'll figure out here if we need to hit the panic button or not.
Yeah, man. Goose Island's a quality beverage. Just go and sip on one of those and just relax. All right. It's a 1-game sample size. I'm with you on that perspective, my man. Outstanding stuff from Allen Robinson, 11-year NFL wide receiver. Follow him on X, would you kindly, at Allen Robinson, and on X at Allen Robinson. Allen, we appreciate the time. Have fun watching football this weekend and NFL week 2. And we'll do this again next week, my man.
Will do. Looking forward to it.
Thank
All
you.
right, fellas. See you next week.
There he goes. All right, see you, Allen. Allen Robinson, former Chicago Bear. I mean, hit the nail right on the head there at the end of the interview. It's like Bears fans, they're the kings of overreaction. You and I are scoreheads, right? Shout out to our boss, Mitch Rosen, who's done a masterful job creating and really expanding that station in the Windy City. I mean, they own sports talk in Chicago, and the panic button has already been pushed by hundreds of thousands of Bears fans, apparently. And I understand he was awesome in the first half, Caleb Williams, and it was kind of a tale of two halves, polar opposite, especially late in the game in crunch time. But you live and learn. Ben Johnson is still living and learning. They're making some moves. They'll make some adjustments. Let's see what happens in game just number 2, and a revenge game narrative as well for Ben Johnson taking on his former employer on the road in the Detroit Lions.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. I have no concerns about Ben Johnson whatsoever. Now, did KOC, Kevin O'Connell, kind of eat his lunch, right? And Dennis Allen's? Well, yeah, but Kevin O'Connell also is one of the better coaches in the league. I keep saying the best coach in the league, but Andy Reid is still alive. But Kevin O'Connell is just really damn good. And it was Ben Johnson's first game as a head coach, right? This is why I asked this question to Jay Gruden. What's the biggest difference between being a hot shot play caller and being in control of the entire locker room? Even though that question kind of speaks for itself, you're in control of the clock decisions, the game management, the personnel, the substitutions, all that stuff. But the game plan, especially on the offensive side of the ball, was flawless. There were guys open all over the field. Now, it was also, we got to remember, week 1, right? And Caleb didn't play a whole lot in the preseason, and he's still only in year 2. He's a work in progress, like Brando said last night in the final hour, which I agree with. Jaden was more NFL ready and always was going to be. I think Caleb still has the higher ceiling. Pump the brakes. It's funny because in the first half, he completed, 10 balls in a row? And he's the next Brett Favre. Then they lose the game, and they're done with him, and they want to see Bajan. Pump the brakes. Give him at least 5 weeks before you jump off the curb.